The red and blue police lights flashed across my cabin like I was breaking into someone else's home. They told me I was trespassing on my own property, and the person who called them, Karen, HOA president, my neighbor, my nightmare, ACA 1. The conflict begins. My name's Mary Thompson. I'm in my 40s, and for the last 12 years, I've owned a small lake cabin tucked away in cedar pines. My late husband built half the porch himself. My son David learned to fish on that dock, and I can't walk across the floorboards without hearing echoes of family memories. It's not just wood and nails. It's sacred to me. When I first moved in, the HOA seemed harmless. A few guidelines, quiet hours, trash pickup, paint colors. But then came Karen Mulberry, the self-appointed queen of the lake. Blonde bob, designer blazers, clipboard glued to her arm. She didn't just enforce rules, she made them up. At first, it was petty. She complained about the color of my shutters, claimed my bird bath was unauthorized decor, sent warning letters about my son's canoe tied to the dock. I ignored most of it, but Karen wasn't used to being ignored. And the more I brushed her off, the more aggressive she became. The breaking point came the night I drove back early from a fishing trip. I was tired, ready to collapse into my bed, when I saw flashing lights bouncing off the trees. 2 squad cars, officers waiting with hands on their holsters. One of them barked, "Ma'am, this property is restricted." "Step away." I froze. Restricted? This is my house? Before I could say more, Karen emerged from the shadows, arms crossed, smug smirk on her face. "Officers, she doesn't belong here. She abandoned this cabin weeks ago. HOA records will prove it." My heart hammered in my chest. Was I really about to be dragged off my own land? The officers checked county records on their laptops. My name lit up on the deed, clear as day. They nodded at me, turned back to Karen. But she was gone, vanished into the night. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt something heavier. Why did she run if she really believed she was right? What was she hiding? The next morning, a notice was taped to my mailbox. Unauthorized occupancy. Bold, red letters. Karen didn't even bother to explain. She just looked at me coldly and muttered, "Prove it." Some things aren't as simple as they look. That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with rules. I was dealing with a war. Act 2. Escalation and doubt. It started small. Late night knocks on the door. Anonymous letters. "You have 30 days to vacate." HOA. Inspections on my property when I wasn't home. Then one night, through my window, I saw Karen at the shoreline with 2 men I didn't recognize. They had toolboxes, crowbars, and they were pointing at my dock. I stepped outside, called out, "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Karen looked right at me, calm, cold. "You shouldn't be here." Not for long. I wanted to call the cops, but what would I say? That my neighbor looked at me funny while holding a crowbar. They'd laugh me off the line. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at old photos of my husband on that dock, wondering if I could actually protect what we built. The fear seeped in, the doubt, when the next letter came. Final notice. Vacate or face removal. I broke. I dropped into a chair and whispered, "Maybe I can't win this. Maybe I should just walk away." But then David came home. My son, taller now, grown, but still the boy who'd caught his first base off that dock. He found me staring at the letter with tears in my eyes. "Mom," he said, voice steady, "this cabin is ours. Dad built it with his hands. They can't take it. Not unless you let them." Something in me snapped back into place. If not for me, then for him I had to fight. So we went to the county clerk's office. Mrs. Rivera, an older woman with sharp glasses and sharper instincts, pulled up the land records. She frowned. "That's strange." "What?" I asked. "Someone filed amendments on your lot. Signatures don't match yours. Boundaries redrawn." "Karen." Mrs. Rivera slammed a stamp on the file. "Administrative hold. Until this is resolved." They can't touch your property. Paper trails talk louder than fists. I walked out, clutching the paperwork like it was a sword. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. But Karen wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Act 3. Climax and Justice. A week later, I heard commotion at the dock. Karen had sent a crew, 3 men with crowbars and bolt cutters trying to tear it down. I called the sheriff. Deputies rolled in just in time to see them mid-swing. Tools scattered, men caught red-handed. And Karen, she was hiding behind the trees. She slipped away before they could question her. But the message was clear. This wasn't about rules anymore. This was about force. 2 nights later, the power cut out. David and I sat in the cabin in complete darkness. No heat, no lights, just the sound of wind outside. HOA had cut the line, and then came the worst. During a storm, cameras I'd installed caught a hooded figure pouring gasoline near the dock. A flash of a lighter. I screamed, grabbed David, and we bolted outside. Deputies rushed in minutes later. The fire marshal confirmed it was arson, intentional, organized. Even then, Karen tried to hide behind the HOA, filing an emergency possession order to seize the cabin before the trial date. But she didn't count on the records. In the old shed, David found the original deed, signed decades ago. It didn't just prove ownership. It gave us rights to the entire shoreline. Every dock, every access point. My husband had secured it long before Karen ever dreamed of ruling this neighborhood. When we presented it in court, the judge barely hid his disgust. This HOA acted outside its authority. This possession order is void. Karen stammered, tried to talk over the judge, but her own allies were already stepping back. Too much had come to light. Forged signatures, unauthorized filings, sabotage, even an attempted arson tied to her hired men. The deputies cornered her at the courthouse steps. One of them told her flatly, "One more stunt like this, and it won't be civil court next time." For once, Karen didn't have a smirk. She had nothing. And just like that, her empire crumbled. Final beat. I didn't celebrate, didn't dance on her downfall. I just stood there, holding the papers close, knowing I almost gave up. Because in the end, truth and persistence beat fear and control. When people abuse power, the truth and the courage to stand your ground is the sharpest weapon.